Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, October 14th, 2021. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. I hope everyone's enjoying their day. And hello, Miss Juju. I'm sorry I was 2 minutes late today. Okay, so once again, let's get started. Okay, so today I want to talk about, should you date your best friend's ex? Is that a no no? Is that taboo? Will it ruin the relationship? Will it ruin the dynamics of the relationship? Thank you for forgiving me, Juju. So, what, so some people think that if you date your best friend's ex, this is whether you are male or female, whatever, you're dating, your best friend's ex, that, maybe they were fooling around on the side. And, if you two are dating, then was something going on behind my back? And, I don't think that's true. Um, So, if you were to date your best friend's ex, and again, I say, is it going to be tough on the relationship? Um, does your ex still have feelings for her ex boyfriend, who is now your boyfriend or who is now your girlfriend? Are there still lingering feelings there? So, is that something that you have to worry about? Um, you know, if they dated for a long time, is that something else you have to worry about? Hello, 100 Yard Old Chemist. How are you today? And Crucible Man, how are you? Thank you for coming. Um, you know, is it a good idea to date your friend's ex if they were, if they were involved in a relationship for, several years? Um, if you and your friend are like BFFs, this is your, in terms of men, you know, you're my best friend, whatever. Now you're, dating my ex girlfriend, or if you two women are really good friends, and I mean, what are the dynamics there? And does it matter if your best friend is of the opposite sex? So what do you think? I mean, is it a no-no to date your best friend's ex? I mean, are you willing to risk your friendship? Are you willing to put a solid friendship that you and your friend already have because of an outside relationship, so to speak? So, anybody want to tackle that one? Anyone want to jump in and tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, give me your thoughts? If so, you are more than welcome. And should you also consider, are there things that you probably need to consider before you date that ex? Okay, is it something that may trigger your friend? Are you going to be able to share things about, your new boyfriend or your new girlfriend, who is their ex, with your friend? You know, in a relationship, or I'm sorry, I'll put it like this. In a friendship, sometimes you share what goes on in your relationship. So would you still do that if you're dating your best friend's ex or your friend's ex? I mean, is that something that you could honestly do? And if you did, would your friend get pissed off? And again, I go back to how long they were dating. Does that matter? When is it acceptable? What is the amount of time that you should wait before you go into that relationship? And Kimma says, absolutely not. That's a line that shouldn't be crossed. But sadly, these Jerry Springer types do it all the time. Okay. Um, okay, Crucible Man. Crucible Man wants to say something. I knew you were going to say something. Um, would
Hello,
you get?
everyone. Yeah, I agree with chemists. I think obviously these are complicated, and there's all kinds of circumstances, and you've listed most of them. What was the nature? How long was the relationship? Was it super serious? Were they planning to get married or engaged? What were the circumstances of the breakup? What was your involvement with that person prior to the breakup? I mean, there's so many things that go into it, but I think bottom line, you're going to have to sacrifice one of those relationships. It's going to be the friend, or it's going to be the new boyfriend or girlfriend, because I think it's a non-starter. Certainly, if you're talking about best friends, which I think was your premise, if it's just a friend who you don't know that well and haven't been particularly close to, maybe you're willing to roll the dice and say, okay, if I lose, I don't want to lose that friend, but if I do lose that friend, it's worth it because this relationship is meaningful to me. So I personally think when it gets to that breaking point, your friend or your ex-friend is going to see it as an act of betrayal. No matter how much you claim that you had no involvement with this person while they were dating, that may or may not be true. Let's assume it was true, that there was no hanky panky going on between anybody prior to the breakup. Mature people would probably say, okay, that's fair. I broke up with this person fair and square. We didn't see a future together, and we're not together anymore. So you can go for it. I think that's a very, very rare development, and I understand it. It's human nature. People will feel like there's a billion people, or 300 million people in this country, and you can't find anybody except my ex boyfriend or girlfriend. And I think they take it very, very personally. So I think it's a very fine line, and I think it's very, very difficult to tread.
Okay, all right. Shadow says, simple rule where I'm from: never date your friends, exes, or sisters. Okay, so let me just throw this out here. I'm playing both sides. I just want to see what everyone thinks. W- First of all, I want to know why you feel that you cannot, date that person, and does it matter if they had been broken up for, say, five years? Is that an acceptable amount of time? I mean, does time matter? Okay, so Crucible Man, you're saying yes to.
Time matters.
Okay, so if it was like 5 years, if it's been 5 years, would it be acceptable?
Yes, I think, like I said, if we're talking about mature people here, and chemist made a comment, and I thought about that when I saw the show topic. I got some Jerry Springer flashbacks as well. But if you're talking about mature people, and it has been 5 years. I mean, I don't care what the nature of your relationship was. I mean, people get over divorces in less than 5 years. So that should be a sufficient amount of time for everybody to have healed and gotten their stuff together again. And it really shouldn't matter. And then I guess it becomes a test of how good of friends are you with this person? And does this person really care about your happiness. Again, this is why circumstances matter. If it's been a few weeks or a few months, totally different ballgame. If it's been several years, then you have to ask yourself, is this person really the best friend that I thought they were? Because clearly they've moved on from this person. This person has moved on from them. They may have even had other relationships in the intervening years. So you have to ask yourself, is this really the best friend that I thought they were?
All right. So, hello, paradox, and excuse my typing skills. I apologize for how I typed that. So, um, but if we're talking about being mature, and let's say you and your ex broke up, and you all were, still on good standing. You all were friends, even if you all had dated, for a long time, and you're still on good standing, and we're still friends. Blah blah blah. And you have moved on. You have moved on, and you're dating someone else. Can your ex still date your friend, your good friend, or your best friend? Does it matter if you yourself have moved on and you're with someone else? And does it matter if you got married and your best friend or your good friend dates your ex? Does it matter? Anybody want to take that one? Chemist? Anybody?
Yeah, I think circumstances always matter. In every walk of life, every area of life, it really does come down to the devil's in the details. But if we're talking about a several year separation or several years, there's a very good chance that both people in the relationship have moved on to other relationships. Maybe they weren't as long and they weren't as good, but human nature is fraught with jealousy and envy, and you have suddenly, and it's understandable. I'm not necessarily criticizing it because I would probably be the same way under those circumstances. You start comparing, what, and there's insecurity creeps in. Well, what does he see in her or her see in him that they didn't see in me? Is he or she better at this? Is he or she better at that? And even though you may be wanting to fight those impulses and those thoughts, subconsciously, we get insecure when we get rejected. And it's particularly difficult when when the person who did the rejecting is now with our best friend. So again, it depends on the circumstances, but if we're talking several years here, I think everybody needs to kind of buck up and move on and act like adults.
Okay. All right. Um, all right. So I want to go back to something Shadow said. Hold on for a second. Let me get that. Seems like your friend was always obsessed with what you had. And I wonder if I care if my friend dates my ex boyfriend. We separated. So, okay, I don't know if I necessarily agree with, being obsessed, but okay. And then Kimma says, no amount of time or circumstances should matter because if I've gotten rid of someone in my life, why would you, as a friend, bring them back in? Okay. And Juju says she agrees. But are they really bringing, okay, but, okay, so Kim are you, and I'm just throwing this out there. Do you think that could be selfish on your part where even though yes that person is your friend but they're bringing them mainly into their life? Yes, you all are friends and you all may cross paths and what have you, but that person is mainly in their life, your boyfriend, your wife, or whatever, your husband, your girlfriend. They're in your life. They're not in other people's lives, so to speak. So anybody want to answer that one, or anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think chemist makes a fair point. Again, the circumstances of the breakup, they do matter. Um, Others part very contentiously. So I think it does depend on the circumstances. But if you really are close friends with somebody, um, and they bring this person back into their life and by extension your life, yeah, I could see where that would be a problem. It depends on the person, but yeah, I hadn't really looked at it from that perspective. But that's where that act of betrayal comes in. It's like I'm just kind of getting on with my life here. And here you go, dragging this person back in and reminding me of all these things. What kind of a friend does that? So I can certainly see it from that standpoint.
Okay, but remember, Kimma says no amount of time or circumstances should matter. So again, I come back to what if you broke up with that person and you all were on a good, you all broke up for whatever reason, but you all were still friends. You all were still friendly. You know, and again, they're not coming back into your life. So again, like I said, they're mainly in in their life. So, you know, does that matter? Not a problem, Crucible Man. I totally understand. So, does anyone else, want to jump in on anything that Crucible Man said, or anything? Can't become friends with somebody I love. Hmm. That's interesting. Okay, someone that you love after a breakup. All right. All right. So basically, the consensus here is that uh, no matter what, you cannot. It is taboo to date an ex. That is what I am looking. I'm just looking at going through to see if I can see any other comments. Okay. Okay. So, at what point do you think it's at what point do you think somebody would be willing to risk their friendship in order to date someone's ex? I mean, is it ever worth risking a friendship over? And does it matter if you are good friends or if you're just, you're just, friends? Does that matter? Does it matter if you're a good friend? Okay, Juju says I don't date exes, and Kimma says no. My circle is small. If you are around me, I consider you family. If you date an ex of mine, you and her can kick rocks. Okay, all right. Shadow, thank you for liking the show. Okay, and Juju says good. All right. Okay, so what? Okay, I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm just trying to see how far you all are just willing to say no. What if it's an acquaintance of yours? Okay, they're not a friend. They just have the title of acquaintance. Does that matter? And does anyone want to come on and take the mic? Let's see. Okay, Shadow says, yeah, I had it happen a few times with my ex and my ex-wife. Some friends are weird and desperate. All right, all right. So, do you think that it's possible to date? Um, do you think it's possible to have a situation where you're dating your friend's ex and not know they are their ex? And I mean something like, what if you live out of state or something, and you knew they were dating someone or whatever, but you all really never, you never met him or met her or whatever, and it's just a coincidence that um, started dating. Would that be possible? That's a hard pill to swallow. Okay. Talking to Shadow. All right. Okay. I kind of figured you were. Okay. All right. And yeah, okay, I read that one. Okay. So for the most part, then everyone is saying that never ever date an ex, a best friend's ex or a friend's ex, um, ever. Now, what if your friend talked to you about it first? What if they said, "Hey, you know, um, you know, Joe asked me out to dinner, or Sue, she asked me to lunch or whatever, and we have things in common, and they're talking to you about it." Does that matter? Does it matter if they talk to you about it first? Anybody? If someone came and talked to you about it first, does it matter if if they were almost asking for your blessing? Okay, and Kimma says, first, I'm going to tell you, if you ask me about it, you've already made up your mind. Well, do you think that's fair, Kimmis? If they come and they ask you, and if you say that you have a problem with it, and then they back off and they say, "Oh, okay, we won't date, or I won't date him or her." Um, I mean, will that matter if they said that they wouldn't do it? And don't you think that they're giving you a level of respect by even asking you? Anybody? Okay, I will keep going. So let me ask. Okay, Crucible Man wants to say something. Okay, that's not respect. Hold on, Kim says that's not respect. That's just them saying, "Hey, I'm about to do this." But if they back off and they know that you don't want them to do it, that you've come out and said that you don't want them, that you don't like it, or you don't want them to do it, and they back off, aren't you at least happy, or give them some props for at least coming to you and asking? And Crucible Man, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I guess I agree with the respect part. If they have the courtesy and the respect for you and the friendship to come to you and ask your permission, I guess, or maybe it's forgiveness. I'm going to do this either way. The person that has to make up their mind, the person whose ex it is, what if they say no? I'm not okay with it. Kind of like what Chemist said. By the time you get to that conversation point, you've probably made up your mind. And is it realistic when we're considering this very, very peculiar and oddly behaving thing called love? No, it has a mind of its own. It goes where it wants to go. It does what it wants to do. We are simply at its mercy. And you can't help who you fall in love with. You really can't. And if a person has gotten to the point where they're approaching you about the appropriateness of dating your ex, their feelings have already pretty much solidified. They're probably in the L word stage, or very close to it at that point. So you've kind of got to point of diminishing returns, or the point of no return is what I should say. And at that point, is it even realistic to expect somebody to say, okay, I'm in love with this person. However, if you're upset with it, I'll just break everything off tomorrow. I don't think that's realistic.
Well, I don't mean that if you're upset with it, we'll break everything off tomorrow. I'm saying is, if it didn't even get out of the gate, they didn't even get to first base or whatever. They're still on home plate, whatever. I'm talking about if if your if your ex approached your friend and said, "Hey, you want to, hang out, want to go to lunch or something," um, and this is the first time that you're hearing this. This is the first time that they've come up to you and they approach you. Hello, Jill. It is the first time that they came up to you, and then you're going back to me and saying, "Hey, your ex, just approached me, or he, whatever, and he wants to hang out with me, go to lunch, go to dinner." That's what I'm talking about. If they come up to you, right at the very start, does it matter?
Probably.
So would you be more willing to give them a little leeway, or is it still no? And again, I'm not talking about you all just broke up. I'm not even talking about a couple of months. I'm saying, let's say that a year went past. Let's say that a year went past. Does that matter? Or will it always be absolutely not, even if it's 20 years from now, it is my ex, whatever, go find somebody else.
Yeah,
Anybody?
I guess it depends on how excuse me, how strong the relationship is, how strong the feelings are between these two people. A lot of people, they think they want a relationship with somebody because they know them already through their friendship with you. They don't know them that well, but they know enough to think they want to pursue something, but they're not completely smitten. They can kind of take it or leave it. It's just maybe they're in between relationships and this whole thing kind of intrigues them. Or the other side of the coin is somebody falls really, really, really hard. They didn't want to, they didn't intend to, but love's a weird thing. And I guess at that point, people have to make decisions. Which relationship is more important? People could make some very odd rationalizations when they're in love. They contort their thinking to fit what they already want to do, whether it makes sense or whether it's fair or not. You're not always thinking clearly when you fall in love. So your decisions and your judgment maybe aren't is what they would be at another time. But yeah, I think time does matter, but at some point, someone's going to have to make a decision on which relationship is more important.
Okay, you make a very good point. And I'm going to ask, I'm willing to give the mic to people. Does anyone else want to comment on what Crucible Man said, or some of the comments that are being made? Does anyone else want to come on? Anybody? Okay. So, when you look at relationships, and I know some of them can be complicated, and I know some people are in relationships for a long time, but at some point, when do you, the person that was dating this ex, when do you give up ownership? When do you give up ownership and say, okay, you know what, I'm an adult. I've been broken up with this person for, quite some time. Do I really care who they date? Does it really matter? And especially if you're already in another relationship. I mean, you, again, like I said earlier, you could have, gotten married or something, and time has passed. Does it really matter who that person dates? So at what point do you give up ownership of your ex? And I would love, I mean, no, nothing against you, Crucible Man, but I would love, we have a nice, group of people here. If anyone would like to come on, because I don't want, Crucible Man to feel, pressured that he has to keep answering whatever. But should does anybody want to take the mic? Anybody? Okay, Crucible Planet says yes. Please speak up, everyone. And my show is one where I give the mic to people. So if you would like to say something, you are more than welcome. As long as we keep it respectful, I have no problem with that. And Shadow says shouldn't matter if you moved on. That's very interesting to me. Now, I have never dated a person's ex. People who I know who have been in relationships, most of them, for the most part, married the person that they were in relationships with. I myself have been married about 20, I keep forgetting how long, 23, 24 years. But I think it should matter if you have moved on. Because if you moved on, again, I say, why does it matter, especially if it's been, some time. And if you're married and your friend, starts dating your ex, does it matter? And I'm going to throw this out there. Does it matter if now you're an adult, you're well into your adulthood, whatever, and your friend is dating your ex from high school? Does that matter? If it's a high school, if it was your high school girlfriend or boyfriend, does that matter? Anybody? Crucible Man, I know you want to say something. So go ahead.
Yeah, again, I go back to circumstances. They always matter. The details always matter. No two situations are created equal. But on paper and in theory, you would think that if people have quote unquote moved on, whatever that entails, that should be sufficient. And maybe that it's a case of, as I've said at the beginning, and I don't mean to be repeating myself, but even if even if it's been 5 years since you've been broken up with your ex, and you truly, and you are being very sincere, don't have any romantic feelings for that person at all. You don't hate them, but the days of love and all the rest of that infatuation, everything, are long over. And you may even be at a point where you kind of go, I'm not even sure what I saw in that person. But again, it goes back to our insecurity as people, and the thought of betrayal, that how could you possibly, and the friend would say, well, you don't even like that person anymore. And the other person might say, that's got nothing to do with it. This is about you and I. This is about loyalty. And you're being disloyal to me by dating somebody that I used to have a relationship with. It doesn't matter how I feel about them right now. And in those kinds of cases, I think you have to kind of evaluate the friendship and say, is my friend being unreasonable? Do they have my best interest in mind? Don't they want me to be happy? And I just think, again, I'm repeating myself. At some point, you're going to have to pick a lane, because I just don't think human nature allows for the kind of flexible thinking that kind of situation would entail.
Okay, so once again, I asked, though, does it matter if it was someone from high school? If I'm dating someone, if I start to date someone that you dated back in high school, does that matter? I mean, because then it's going to be, well, you dated him, he was my boyfriend or he was my girlfriend when we were in the sixth grade. I mean, at what point? I mean, does it matter if it's a high school ex, a college ex, or as you get older? Does it matter?
Yeah, I think it does. I think if we're talking about high school or grammar school or something silly like that, I don't see how you can possibly hold that against somebody. And I don't know how you would want to be friends with somebody who would be that petty and that immature to go all the way back to grammar school or high school, even college. We're kids at that age. We don't know anything that we'll know later on. So how you're talking about puppy love in a lot of cases. Particularly grammar school and in high school. So yeah, if you're still hung up and you're going to be holding it against somebody for something that happened, a dozen years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it is, I'd have to call into question, what exactly is this friendship all about, and do I know this person as well as I thought I did?
Okay, but there are people. Okay, I'm going to knock out the grammar school, relationship. I was just trying to make a point. But even for high school, you do have people who were, you thought that they were going to get married because they were always together. They dated their entire time during high school, and you even say college. I'm just saying that for me personally, I don't have a problem with someone dating an ex. No one's ever done it that I know of. I don't have a problem with it if enough time has passed. If I have moved on, I'm moving on. I'm not going to be stuck, worried about who my ex is dating, even if it is my friend, because I've moved on. I'm married. I'm whatever. I'm happy, and I'm confident with myself, where I don't have. I mean, why do I care? Why do I care who they are dating, especially if a certain amount of time has passed? Because if I'm going to worry about that, then I am bringing, I mean, that's like baggage that I don't need. So I don't know. Anybody want to agree or disagree with me? Anybody want to take the mic? Anybody? Hello, Shy Lady. Welcome. Crucible Man, you may get a breather because shy lady's here. Shy Lady, Crucible Man. I mean, people have been chatting and what have you, but I really, with Crucible Man says you, woo, what the topic is about, dating your friend's ex, whatever, and most of the panel has said, never do it, whatever. And I'm standing on the island, but by myself, because my thing is, if you have moved on, married, another relationship, whatever, why do I care who my ex dates, even if it is my friend, whatever, and if a sufficient amount of time has passed. So that's basically where we are in the conversation. And if you would like to jump in, I would love to hear, what you have to say. But I don't know. I just think that, what difference does it make? And hold on, Shy Lady wants to come on. Crucible Man, you're getting a break. Shy Lady, hello.
Hey everyone. I just came back from having lunch with my husband, so that's why I'm a little bit late. So, anyway, my stand on that is I wouldn't do it, especially if there was an intimate relationship. Even if you just kind of went on a few dates and nothing happened. I actually kind of had a situation that was similar to the topic, but not really. Before I met my husband, I went out with a couple of people he went to college with, and nothing ever happened. It was just like a dinner date. Didn't even shake hands. After first date, conversation didn't go right. Didn't think that I was compatible. And my husband knew them. They were in the same fraternity or whatever, but they weren't friends, but they knew each other. But I mean, I went out with them, and like I said, a couple of guys, and nothing ever happened. Just weren't my type. Now, like I said, if a situation where it was intimate relationship, I don't think I could do that. That I don't think
Did
I could do.
Let me ask you, did your husband, did he get upset at the time?
Um, no, because I was just getting to know him as well. I kind of like
Oh,
met
okay.
them all around the same time. So
Okay.
no,
Got it. Got it.
no,
Okay.
because it was a
So,
party that I had met most of them at.
okay. So my question is, um, does it matter if does it matter if you have moved on? Does it matter if there's been a sufficient amount of time? When I say a sufficient amount of time, I'm like at least a year, 2 years, and then this person comes in.
I don't. I mean, it doesn't bother me, and it's another bring me to another remembrance when I was in college. Um, One of my sorority sisters, well, they're married now, but I knew him before she did, and he, you know, tried to date me, and I was like, no, you're not my type, and I never told her that he tried to he dated me before her, and I never even told her. It just was irrelevant, but I knew him before her, and I just was like, okay, no big deal. I'm glad he found someone that's compatible, but it didn't bother me then either.
Okay, so you think that time does make a difference?
I think it can. Then again, like I said, it depends on. I mean, it depends on how friendly you are with how good of friends you are with this person, and if there were intimate relationships, whatever. I know that my daughter had a similar situation where there was this guy who her friend was interested in, but the guy wasn't interested in her friend, but he's interested in her. And she was very jealous. She was very jealous. And my daughter was like, well, you know, if he tries to talk to me and I like him, she's like, I don't care what she says. I'm gonna date him. Because there was nothing that ever happened between her and her friend and this guy. It was only somebody that she told him. She said, well, I told you I liked him. Why would you choose to date him if I told you I was interested in him? She said, well, has he ever tried to talk to you? She's like, no. She said, well, what's the deal? If he's not interested in you, what am I harming if he comes to me and wants to get to know me? So I think it's really silly if a person gets jealous of something like that. But like I said, I think I would feel uncomfortable if I had a friend who had been intimate with a man and then that man wanted to date me. I don't know if I could, even if it was a year or two, it would be awkward. To me, it would be awkward because if we're that good of friends and he comes around, I can only think of, oh, y'all were together
Okay, okay,
intimately.
okay.
So
So
that would
you're
be
okay.
awkward to me.
Okay, so you're looking at it more on an awkward level.
Exactly.
Okay, all
Exactly.
right. Okay,
Awkward.
okay. So
Yeah.
you're looking. Okay, okay. So to me, that I totally get that. But I think if you're going to be jealous, like you said, the other girl was jealous, and they hadn't, the guy hadn't even asked her out or whatever. But if you're going to be jealous, if jealousy is going to be your reason for not wanting your ex to date any of your friends, then to me that's a security level. I mean, that's a problem you have with your own security and how you feel, or you're
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're you're
Agreed.
insecure. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just say that if you have, hey, Petty Deb, how are you? I just say that if you're in a relationship, you end that relationship, whether it ended well, whether it didn't end well, whatever, and you all are friends. But more than anything, if you have moved on, you're married or you're in another relationship with someone that you really like or love, and you plan on getting married or taking that relationship to another level, why do you care what your ex is doing? Why do you care who that person's dating? On the level of what Shy Lady said in terms of it would be awkward, I totally get that you're both, if you all show up at a barbecue and you're like, well, he slept with her and he slept with me, it's kind of awkward. Yeah, I can get that. But just on a jealousy level, or you better not level, I'm just not feeling that. So
I agree with you on that. On the jealousy level, it's like, who cares? Everyone's an adult. Move on.
right, move on. So do you still have feelings for that person? What is the big deal? And again, so I don't know. Crucible Man says people make all kinds of rationalizations when it comes to love. You are right. People do. But are you willing to not be friends with someone because you're not willing to let go, because you're still holding on to something. Are you willing to ruin a friendship? And you already have a relationship. You already have a relationship. So you're going to tell me 10 years down the road, you're going to get pissed off at me if I date someone that you dated 10 years ago? I mean, come on. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But people, they have their opinions, and Kimma says, "Yep, okay." I mean, I on that one, Kimmis, I have to I have to agree with you on that one. But do you want to take the mic, or no? I I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. So, all right. So, okay, Kimmis is coming on. I knew sooner or later you probably would. Hey, Kimmis, how are you?
So
You have the mic.
that that I'm
Okay,
willing.
you are breaking up.
Okay, hold on. Is that better?
Yes, yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, like I was saying, for me, that's just another hill that I'm willing to stand on and die on. Because if you're my friend, I consider you family, and for me to consider you family takes a lot. Takes a lot for me to trust somebody like that. And if I give you that trust, you should reciprocate that same trust and respect for me, not to date anybody that I've ever talked to. Because if it were you, I'd be like, okay, what's up? Hey, how you doing? And keep it pushing. But that makes me think, okay, well, how long have you two been making googly eyes?
Okay, Kimmis. So again, if you moved on and you were married, okay, you moved on, you've gotten married, and 10 years down the road, your friend starts dating one of your exes, and again, you
Standing
are in
down
a
this hill.
relationship. So, and you are still saying that you would not like that.
Nope, I standing down this hill.
Okay. All right. That is interesting. Juju, at the top of your screen, up in the upper right, you should say, at least on the top of my screen, it should say share. You should have something where you can share. But I could be wrong, because I'm not on my mobile phone. I'm on my laptop. So I mean, Kimmons, one thing that I can say about you, when you come on the show, you stick to your opinions, and I admire you. I admire you for that. And we tend to disagree, but I am always willing to listen, and I respect your opinion 100%. So,
I
and I
appreciate it.
appreciate yeah, and I appreciate your coming on. And at times you make me you make me laugh, but and this is what it is. I don't want to talk at people. I want to have a conversation with people, and I truly am interested in what people have to say. I mean, not necessarily say, okay, I'm going to be on your side or whatever, and I don't expect people to, always say, yeah, solid blue, as you said, yeah. I'm just truly interested in what people have to say, because, it gives me something to think about. It gives me something to, think about, later on. Maybe he has a point, maybe she has a point, or no, I still don't, whatever. But I just always like to hear what people have to say. So, having said that, does anyone want to comment on what Kim has said? I mean, do you agree with what he said, that no matter what, um, you know, no matter what, doesn't matter how many years have passed by, the answer is no, don't ever date an ex. Does anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, I guess as chemists said, if that's the hill you want to die on, then God bless you. But um, is there something to be said for the fact that it is love? And I made a comment earlier about it not being a rational type of a thing. And everybody wants to find their true love. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to, you know, live happily ever after, all those kinds of fantasies. And they're not really fantasies. They're things we grow up with, and it kind of gets ingrained with us. As we grow up, we want to find somebody, we want to find to build a life with and share a life with. And when somebody does finally find that person, um, I think people tend to, and I'm talking now about the person who ends up falling in love and is either going to approach the person who's their friend or is just going to ignore it and proceed with the relationship. Um, at some point, you've got to make the decision. My happiness is most important. I've been looking for how many years. I've had so many failed relationships. Maybe there's a couple divorces in there. And now I've met the love of my life, or at least that's what I think. It happens to be the ex of my best friend, but my happiness is more important at this point in my life. And maybe 10 years earlier, the friend would be perfectly okay with that relationship. But as we all know, throughout our lives, as we get older, friendships change. Some people drop off. The complexion of the relationship changes, and maybe 10 years later, that ex or that best friend is going through a set of life circumstances. Maybe they've been divorced, or maybe they've going through some insecure times, and the reaction to that relationship would be 180 degrees than what it would have been maybe 10 years earlier. So things change throughout the course of our lives, but I think people always err on the side of, I'm falling in love with this person. I've waited X number of years to find this person, and I'm going to put my happiness above everything else, even if it means costing me, the friendship of my best friend.
Okay, you make some good points. Kimmons, do you want to respond to Crucible Man? And you say, so in this highly overpopulated world, the best you could do was my ex. Kimmons, do you want to respond to Crucible Man, or was that your response? Um, you know, I don't know. I mean, Crucible Man makes a good point when he says, people change, and as we get older, your friends do change. Maybe you still don't, know the people that you knew 20 years ago. Things do change. So, Shy Lady, you want to say something?
I just want to say you might remember you. I know you and I are strong fans of one of this family member, Michael Jackson. Do you recall Jermaine and Randy being involved with the same woman and having each one of them having kids?
Yes, and if I remember, I think Jermaine Jackson ended up marrying her, and I think he and, if I remember the story, he and Randy ended up falling out for a couple of years.
I never really, because Randy doesn't, he rarely ever uh, get in the media, so I never really found out. I wish I knew how he felt, but I know that Randy had kids by her as well. He had a child or two before Jermaine got involved. I just always thought that was a very, very odd situation, especially since we're talking about this whole X and all that. This is you're talking about brothers, which is a whole nother level. But I just wonder if anybody recall that.
No, I mean no, and you bring up a good point by bringing up that story. When you start talking about your family members are dating, the same person. Um, I don't even look at it necessarily as your family members are dating the same person. I'm looking at the fact that this girl or this guy is dating both of you, or I mean that now that's awkward. That's awkward. I mean, can you imagine, Thanksgiving dinner, whatever. So each of them having children by the same person. Are we, half brothers and sisters? Are we cousins? You know what
Exactly.
are we? What are we? Juju, you are saying you can't get volume, so you may want to come out and come back in. I'm not sure what's going on. So yeah, so I think that would be very awkward. I think when you're talking about family members, you're talking about something completely different. But I just think that when you have moved on, then you should fully move on and not worry about something that that and again, and I say not something that you all just broke up a week ago, a month ago, even within a year. I'll even say not even within the first 2 years. But if you've already moved on into a relationship, I just say, what do I care who you're dating? Especially if you've come to me and you've said, just want to let you know, your ex-boyfriend, I ran into him and he, wants to take me to lunch and everything, I think he's pretty cool, do you have, issues with it? My answer would be no, go, 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 have lunch, dinner, whatever. If you all hook up, you hook up, because I know I'm not going back to that person. I know, especially if I've moved on and I'm in another relationship or I'm married or whatever, I'm not looking, no, I'm not looking back. So, I don't know. Okay, Juju, you're having volume problems. Not sure what's going on with your phone, or I'm not sure what you're on. Okay, there you go, being all mature. Okay. And Kim says, again, I want to be like you when I grow up. No, you don't. No, you don't, Kim. You say that to me all the time. And we don't say it to me all the time. You're not on the show all the time. But you don't want to be like me. I want to be like Mike. Okay. So does anyone else want to comment on anything Crucible Man says, Kim has said, or Shy Lady said? And Shy Lady, I do believe that was a good example. It was an extreme example, but a good example, bringing in Randy and Jermaine Jackson. So, but I'm assuming that, again, from what the panel has basically said, that no matter what, for the most part, everyone is in agreement not to date an ex. I'm on the other side. I think Shy Lady might be in my camp, where as long as if you've moved on, is not a big deal, but it would be awkward if you were intimate with that person. It would be awkward. So on that note, does anyone else have anything that they would like to say before we end the show? I want to give everyone an opportunity if they want to say any closing remarks. Crucible Man.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is, friendships, particularly best friendships, and if they go back a long way, even more so, and love relationships are probably two of the most complicated concepts that we struggle with in our lives. And to have them both sort of collide at an intersection, has got to be not only very stressful, but it's got to force you into making maybe some decisions about where to go with the friendship, where to go with the love relationship. But both are things that everybody aspires to. Everybody wants to have a best friend, and everybody wants to have a love of their life. And it's unfortunate sometimes that you'd have to choose between the two, because in a perfect world, why not have both? But sometimes it's not that simple. So I would just close with, you're dealing with two of the most complicated issues that people face, and when you're forced to have to maybe make a choice, I can only imagine how confusing it must be, because everybody's different, and everybody has varying levels of envy and insecurity and jealousy. And what might be a perfectly acceptable situation now, 5 years from now might be totally inappropriate. So I just wanted to point out that neither of those relationships are easy, and they're both things that everybody who has a quote unquote successful life aspires to. And it would be unfortunate if you had to pick between the two.
Okay. All right. You've made some good points. And you also said something. I read, I'm reading Kevin's comment to me over where he says, again, I want to be like you when I grow up. So, Kevin, I just want to ask this for you, because you said that you are going to stand on that mountain and you are just going to stick, with what you say, that never ever date a person's ex. So I'm going to ask this, and this is extreme, but I just want to see, what you think, and it may sound silly. You are 80 years old. Okay, you and your wife have been married, for 40 years or more, whatever. Um, is this still going to? Are you still going to say the same thing where your friend, God willing, that they're still living, that don't date my ex? I mean, are you taking it to that level, literally, no matter how old I am? Do not date my ex. If I'm 80, 90 years old, do not date my ex. And again, it may sound silly. Stand and die. Okay. All right. That's what Kim says. Stand and die. All right. I wanted to know how far, and you told me. Shy Lady, do you want to say anything before we wrap it up, or anyone else? Oh, I know. I am laughing. And Kim I'm telling you, you always say something. We can be so serious on these shows, and you always say something that I know that I'm going to be doing something later in the day, or I'm going to be in the car driving, and I'm going to think about your comments, and I'm going to start laughing. So, okay. Stand and die. Well, good. That's a phrase I'm gonna have to start using. Stand and die. But you are sticking by your gun. So, anyone else have anything else that they want to say? Comments? Anyone? All right. Well, everyone, today is Thursday, so this is my Friday. I will not be streaming again until Monday. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. Always speak your truth. Kimmis always does. And I am Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, Shy Lady, Crucible Man, Kimmis, thank you so much for taking the mic. And to Juju, Tony, Shadow, Dwayne 217, all of you, thank you for liking the show. Parmy, Jill, Hoda, Crucible Man, Shy Lady, Kimmis, Juju, thank all of you guys for liking the show. This was an interesting conversation. It was interesting. Crucible Man, thanks for liking the show. And you guys, leave comments. I would love to hear some of your comments about the show. If you guys can do that for me, I would really appreciate it. Other than that, I'm just going to enjoy the music until it's over. And Juju, I'm not sure what's going on with your mic or with your sound. We can do a test show later if you'd like, just between the two of us, and we can test it out. I don't have a problem doing that. Thank you, everyone. that's it. We are wrapping it up. Have a good weekend, everyone. And bye.